You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionFit.com. Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back once again. It is Monday. How was your weekend? Hope you had a good one. Now we are back and ready to go for another week's worth of content coming at you. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network that will be coming at you all week. Yet another reminder, if you're not subscribed to the full network, what are you doing? Thanks to all you folks who keep sending in those little reminders from Spotify and Apple and everything else showing us on your top for the year. It's always fun. It's always exciting to see those. We literally couldn't do it without you folks. So thanks to all of you out there who've been tuning in throughout the year. We love you all. Of course, if you want to tune in, you will have one final crack at the prize, aka the Pro Trading Crate over there at theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Yes, you can vie for the December Pro Trading Crate as well as get all the other cool stuff we have popping off over there, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Rumor has it, Vol Deathmatch 2.0 coming soon. So make sure to check that out as we check out who's joining us on the old Monday edition of the Old OB. Of course, I am joined by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, as well as by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. I introduce them now because they are ready. I think the Rock Lobster does have his towel around his neck. He's ready to go. He's fired up. He's fired up because it is time, listeners. It's Monday. It is time for our 80s Trivia Challenge. Here we go. Ah, the sweet and sultry tunes of unlicensed trivia music. All right. I have the card in my hot little hands. Uncle Mike, as our reigning loser coming into the final month of the year, hoping to turn things around with a late rally. You have had a few runs here, a few wins of late, so you are starting to string together a few wins. You probably will need to do so for the rest of the year, but no pressure. But that said, Mr. Uncle Mike, are you sticking with the one that brought you to the dance and then turned around and left you? Are we going orange? Or are we going some other color this week?
You know what? If you keep buying an out of the money call enough times, eventually it's going to hit.
It's got to work. That's how that math works, right?
Let's go with sports and leisure.
All right, here we go. Get your hands. I'll make sure I have my chat readily visible so I could see who is the winner. All right, here we go. Gentlemen, what baseball inning has a stretch in it?
That's
All right, Uncle Mike, you had it queued up. You're learning how this game is played. Uncle Mike, this is a pretty easy one. I might have to dock you an extra point if you get it wrong.
I'm going to go with the seventh inning.
Yes, the seventh inning stretch. And you know what? Our producers didn't even put in the 80s trivia blocks. I'm going to put it in myself just so I can make sure I record your victory, Uncle Mike.
Woo!
Otherwise, it goes unrecorded and it doesn't count. And then,
which I think you missed a lot of my points earlier in the year.
Yes.
Now that I think about it,
I would have probably missed that for some.
would have missed at least 80. You would have guessed a different inning, Mr. Rock Lobster?
I don't know. I forgot about 7th inning stretch. So I see like maybe one baseball game.
Oh, so I guess, and this is a rare scenario, or maybe you could have let him go first, Mr. Uncle Mike. Then he would have gotten it wrong, and I might have docked him an extra shame point on top of it.
Yeah, he really would have made some hay on it for sure.
The out of the money calls are getting closer.
I will admit, I
4 in a row. 4 in a row. It is now like, and that's actually the first one that I would have. The other ones he just beat me on speed. Pure speed.
Pure speed. I will admit I spilled the box of cards, so they are all mingled together now. I had them all kind of in order. So this we're getting some nice easy ones for you here at the end of the year, apparently. So there you go. Enjoy this run. As listeners, you can enjoy a little bit of the old trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, listeners, let's get down to business. And business today is to the red. Bulls need not apply. Uncle Mike and his ridiculous cabal can sit out today. They are not needed today, listeners. I'm just kidding. It's not really that red. It's slightly red. Any red these days seems pretty dire. The S&P, as we're kicking off the show, off about 1/4%. Dow off about 0.5%. And NASDAQ kind of slightly red to unch on the day. That said, we have bounced off the lows. Looks like S&P looks like 15, 16 handles off the lows. It was off closer to 0.5%, about 0.4%, right before showtime. But a little bit of a rally kicking in here. Apparently, more buyers than Uncle Mike, and his stupid cabal kicking in here right at the last minute. Our old pal VIX Cash had gotten a little bit of juice back in it today. It was threatening a 17 handle. Let's see how we did get ever so briefly. We kissed a 17 handle right before the show, 1703 listeners. And since then, as this turnaround has kicked in, we've started coming down the other way. 1680 as we're kicking off the show. Still obviously a lot higher than we were on the Thursday episode, about 0.8 point. And substantially higher from the mid 15 handle, the depths that we plumbed back on Friday afternoon, which was just absolutely wild town. VVIX at about a 96, back up 4 points. So we'll see if this red will persist or if this is just a head fake and then we're off 50 handles in the other direction. Uncle Mike, as our winner for the day, sir, what's catching your eye? And at least for right now, not an Uncle Mike type of day, but if your cabal keeps working, it might turn green, sir.
Well, in honor of the 7th inning stretch, I'll say what Harry Carey used to say when the Cubs were losing. All right, let's get some runs. For any Cub fans out there, they will remember that one. Anyway, today with what we're seeing, we're down slightly on the day-to-day. Technology is still up, but we do have energy is down about 1%. So it's really not a lot of move to speak of by any means. I think we are eagerly awaiting what the Fed is going to say this week. Bonds are down a little bit today. So IEF, the 7 to 10-year Treasury, that's down 0.25%. TLT, what a lot of our listeners trade, is down 0.5% on the day, which trades the 20-plus year Treasuries. So I think that we're just going to kind of wait it out for the Fed news coming out later or coming out on Wednesday this week. So I think that, not to be too much of a spoiler for Around the Block by any means, but I think that's going to be the big story of the week. Silver is down slightly, down 0.6% on the day. Gold is down slightly, down 0.3% on the day. So we're really not getting a lot of macro movement in the market. We do have a couple of things that are catching my eye in terms of some individual names. Taiwan Semiconductor, that's up over $7 on the day, 2.5%. Old Mr. Softy is making a little bit of a run today, up 1.5%. Might be making another run at the $500 level. So we have some things that are happening, but not a lot of things happening all in the same direction. We just have a few names that are making a name for themselves for today, if you will. VIX is up a little bit today, so curious to hear Andrew's take on that. Market's down slightly. VIX is up over 7% on the day, so interested to hear that. And yeah, really not a lot to report today with what's going on.
So walk our listeners through this, Uncle Mike. Day like today, you come in, you wake up, you see the dreaded red on the screen. You're not accustomed to it. It may throw you for a little bit of a loop. Is it all hands on deck with the cabal? How does it work? Is it a text message chain where it goes out and said, guys, come on, you're slipping. We have to start the buying right now. How does that whole process work? Walk our listeners through this on a red day like today, sir.
Our listeners are the cabal, Mark. We are the cabal. All of our thousands of listeners with which we have, they are the cabal. We are roughly 70 points away from an all-time high in the S&P 500. We are one positive day away from being at all-time highs again. So in terms of the cabal with how it works, we meet every day or every Monday and Thursday at noon Central Time, and we listen to the option block.
At this point, you might be correct, given these markets. Our listeners might be the cabal. Who knew this whole time? I've been in the cabal. I didn't even know it, Mr. Uncle Mike. That feels
You
weird.
are the cabal.
I feel kind of dirty now. I might have to go take a shower after the show. Mr. Rock Lobster, distract me, sir, from this talk of skullduggery. What is catching your eye out there in the markets today?
Well, one thing I noticed is I don't think I paid my Twitter bill, and I got a note from Twitter, like for premium, saying your lack of self-awareness is disturbing.
Oh, was it a personal note from Elon with just a sad face?
I know, it's kind of like a pay your premium bill.
Does Twitter send a goon to your house? How does it work? You're going to break your kneecap?
Put a Doge stamp on his Twitter bill.
I'm curious if listeners have got that. I keep premium, for option pit. Anyway. No, it just my phone it had this thing. I assume it was because I owed I needed to change my card in Twitter. So
I love you. Good thing you live on the shores of Maine. You're outside of the range of the Twitter goons. Otherwise, it might be making an appearance on the doorstep, sir.
It could be. It could be. I'll tell you what's making an appearance on the doorstep is the chickens hiding from the wind.
Oh,
they're
yes.
pooping all over the doorstep. It's very annoying on our front porch. So
you're a man of the people.
In Chicago, typically, the chickens are pooping on my doorstep because of the wind.
These are problems we all share.
These are problems that I have in Maine, and clearly nobody else does. I think we're kind of, we are still in this Fed watch mode. Which, to be honest, I am not a fan of. Haven't been a fan of it for 10 years, and it continues unabated. So we get to wait for the Fed to tell us whether they're going to raise lower rates or not. And to be honest, I mean, who knows if we should or shouldn't? It does seem a little specious always, but they just might do that, and if they do, we probably will rally to all-time highs because we are darn close. We are very close to 6,900 and just a couple days trade away from 7,000 SPX to end the year, which nobody would believe. So again, if you believe Twitter, everything is terrible, but stocks keep rallying. So, and I've seen a lot of things about valuations in the S&P 500. And I wonder what the valuations look like if, you subtract the top 10 stocks or the top 10 market caps. Probably drops to a historical value. But I'm kind of curious if any listeners have any information on that. But yeah, once again, apparently everybody, traders think all the spoils will go to the top 10 companies. And, I'm not going to say it's looking like that, but it keeps moving in that direction, to be quite honest. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Technology is meant to disrupt, and we have AVGO earnings, I believe, this week, and we have another big one. I think Oracle too, right? So these are two pretty big bellwether. Yeah, the 11th for AVGO, and Oracle is the 10th. So I think both of these, and my guess is these companies should do well. It depends on how much they're spending on technology. That kind of derailed them a little bit. But AVGO, of course, is the provider of technology, so they just keep making chips. But at least with that, I think we had a reasonable pullback going into this FOMC meeting, which will be the last, if it happens, last rate cut of 2025. And then we'll, people will start to say, how many we're going to get for 2026? My guess is not many, but we will see.
We shall see indeed, listeners, as we see what is lighting up the tape out there in the marketplace today. Is it a poppin' day? The answer is yeah, it's putting up some numbers out here. Let's kick things off in VIXland, as we are wont to do, listeners. Is it a hot day? Is it a spicy day out there in VIXland? Again, the answer is surprisingly, yeah, it's not bad. We're already north of 500,000 contracts coming into this part of the show, which again, we kind of have to expect these days when the ADV is at exactly 1 million contracts. When you're hitting that, you hope to be north of 500,000 contracts by this time in the show, and that's indeed what we're doing. 544, actually just ticked up, 551. A whopping 551,000 contracts on the tape in VIXland. So again, normal December, that would be pretty explosive volume, but this is anything but a normal December when we're rolling into December with a million contracts a day changing hands in VIXland. That's when you know the game is afoot, listeners. Speaking of the game is afoot once again in everyone's apparently favorite VIX contract. Yes, the DEES 18 puts are back with a vengeance today. That's your hot option in VIXland right now. Almost 41,000 have already changed hands. Average price for these bad boys of $1.32. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you know there's a lot of OI on this strike, so there could be closing. They've been trading these for a couple of weeks, pretty hot and heavy. Started talking about them a few weeks ago, prices around 60 to 65 cents, so $1.32. They've pretty much doubled their money, so you could see why maybe some folks would be getting the heck out of Dodge. But we put it to you folks, $1.32, everyone's favorite, the DEES 18 puts. Are you down for buying those right now? Or are you sold to you? Just went live a few minutes ago. Right now, 100% of the early responders are saying sold to you. But we will keep an eye on that as the show progresses, come back. I have a feeling it will be a little bit more mixed. But then again, folks have been slinging these for a while. Maybe they want to take some profits as we keep on rolling out here to, well, let's just finish off the rest of VIX for today, shall we? Number 2, 40,000 of the DEES 21 calls. 47 cents for those if you're wondering what those are going up for. If you want to take a bit of a flyer ahead of the old FOMCA this week. Number 3, 34,000 of the DEES 18 calls. So the other side of that 18 strike. Number 4, 30,000 of the DEES 15 puts. Thankfully, we seem to have left these behind. 7 cents if you want to take a flyer on those bad boys. A whopping 7 cents if you want to offer it up to the market gods. There you go. And number 5, 28,000 of the March 42 halves. In case you're wondering, those are indeed opening. So there you go. A lot of March upside being opened over the last week, which is also interesting. If you want to hear all that fun and a lot more, make sure you're tuning in to Vol Views every Friday. Again, another reason why you should be subscribed to the full network. SPY already over 6 million contracts as we're coming into this portion of the show, listeners. 6.1 now, to be precise. So that's pretty decent paper. The ADV is about 10.5 million, so clearly on the road to that already today. The S right around 2.6 million contracts right now. The ADV 4.5 million contracts. Small caps, they've been lighting it up out there of late. Are they doing so today? The answer is they're right about in line with expectations, a little bit north of a million, 1.1 million contracts out there. By the way, the small caps up about 0.1% right now, so small caps, as they are wont to do, bucking the trend out there. The ADV is a little bit shy of 2 million, so they're on pace to hit that today if they keep this up. And then our old pal, the Qs, bringing up the bottom of the list today. The Qs, 3.42 million contracts already, so closing in on 3.5 million. That's pretty decent paper. The ADV, 5.8 million, so definitely on pace to hit all that. Now, then again, we've said that before, and then we see the second half of the session. Things just absolutely fall apart. So we'll see if that happens today or not. But right now, definitely on pace for some action. Is there action in the single names? Unfortunately, the answer is no. It is a day that time forgot out there. Again, it's December. We're supposed to expect these types of numbers. It's also a Fed week. So people kind of keeping their powder dry ahead of that. That's why number 10 is Amazon, and it only cost you 275,000 contracts to get there. That's the lightest we've seen in probably a couple of months, I have to say, out there. That's pretty light paper. So 275 to break into the top 10. Usually we're well north of 350 this time of the show, if not higher. We've had some days north of 450. 275, kind of a day that time forgot. Our old pal, the Amazonians, taking in at number 10. 227.5, off exactly $2, or about 0.9%. For the number 10 spot, number 9, it's our old pal Robinhood, 136.86, up nearly $5 or 3.75%. Looks like they're breaking into Indonesia, or more buyers than sellers. Either way, some upside for Hood today. 305,000 contracts for the number 9 spot. Number 8, it's the Fruit Company. What is this color? I'm not used to this color. For the Fruit Company, 277.40, off about $1.40 or about 0.5%. We haven't seen much red since they were about 100 handles lower than this and they announced their big stock buyback. So Apple, number 8, 322 on the tape. Number 7, it's kind of a perennial top tenner at this point. It's our old pal Alphabet Class A, 312.25, off about $8.80 or so right now, about 2 2/3%. So a little bit of red on the screen for good old Alphabet out there today, 341 on the tape, even though it's been a hell of a run for them since they got kissed by the Buffett stick. They're still up nearly 8% over the past month, and from their lows in mid-November, they're up substantially more than that. So good little run here, even if they are giving some back here. For number 7, the Alphabet friends. Number 6, I got a feeling we're going to be talking about this one for a while. We were talking about it on Friday with some 25 calls going up that looked pretty good. And we thought, hey, you might want to get the heck out of Dodge on these. You had a nice run on these. Seems like the deal is done. When you have the deal is done, usually the upside kind of peters out. But perhaps the deal is not done. Yeah, we're talking about Warner Brothers Discovery, number 6, 343 on the tape. Up another 80-odd cents, or about 3%, 26.88 right now. So those 25s looking even better today. 343,000 contracts on the tape for our old pal Warner Brothers. So apparently more names keeping their name in the hat, really. It's a Paramount saying, we're going to come for you regardless. Now it's the 28 sliding up the tape out there for 27 cents. 28s by Deese expiration, listeners, 27 cents. Are you down for that? Or is that a bit of a bridge too far? We've also got the 28s expiring this week. Those are 26 cents. Obviously, they went up. They must have gone up much earlier. Different times, because if you could get the 26s expiring next week for a penny, less than a penny more, why wouldn't you do that? So obviously, different times for these trades, but interesting stuff out here. Warner Brothers Discovery. Is this one back on your radar, listeners? Had you written it off, and now maybe you're looking again? Either way, number 6, Warner Brothers Discovery. Let's keep it rolling to number 5. It's SoFi. They spooked a lot of the bulls last week, announcing they saw that stock getting up to the 30 handle. They said, we will hit that bid. They pulled the opposite play of Apple, who bought it all up. They're saying sold to you, and the stock taking a bit of a drubbing as a result. Down again today, 27 1/3, off about 40 cents, or about 1.5%. 368,000 contracts on the tape for them. And the number 5 spot, again, if the market's going to give you some free capital, can't fault them for taking it, but it is going to hit some of that valuation. Number 4, it's good old Intel, threatening the 40 handle again in the wrong direction. 40 1/4, off about 1 1/4, or nearly 3% today. Good for number 4. Again, we're all the way at number 4, only 515,000 contracts on the tape. So hardly a banger today, listeners. Up to number 3, Netflix, continuing to drop. So it's interesting. They drop on the acquisition news, and then they drop again on the hint that maybe they won't get the acquisition. There's a competitor still playing for them. So interesting. All of it spells out to red for Netflix. 95, and 3/4, off about $4.50, or about 4.5%. It's nice when the stock's around $100. Makes the percent math so easy, listeners. Netflix, number 3, 702. Let's just look really quickly. Let's just see, what are folks slinging in Netflix? If you want to hear the full rundown, make sure you come back after the close for the Hot Options Report, listeners. Yet another reason why you should be subscribed to the full network. Right now, it's 26,000 of the pars leading the dance, expiring this week for 90 cents, listeners. So taking a flyer that we're going to see a nice bounce in Netflix before the end of the week. Are you down for a little bit of that, listeners? I'm curious. Might be a fun question of the week. Number 2, Tesla. 1.25 million contracts on the tape. They are coming for Tesla today. About right around 438, 437.96, off about $17 or 3.75%. More sellers than buy. Oh, Morgan Stanley downgraded them as well. So a combination of downgrade and more sellers than buyers today. They had quite the rip to the upside last week, giving some of that back this week. Number 2, Tesla, 1.26 million. That means the big dog, Nvidia today, 1.67 million. Bucking the trend, 186.68, up about 4.25 or 2.33%. So a nice little pop out there for Nvidia. Not materializing in a ton of volume yet, but we shall see. The day is young. As the Rock Lobster and Uncle Mike pointed out, we do have some names still popping off. So if you were kind of done with earnings, not yet, listeners. Tuesday, we have Uncle Mike's other favorite shopping destination. It's Ollie's Bargain Outlet, followed by GameStop after the bell, and good old Cracker Barrel. We'll see how all this Sturm und Drang over their logo, if it has impacted their earnings at all. Either way, Cracker Barrel after the bell on Tuesday. Chewy before the bell on Wednesday, the name that arguably kicked off the entire meme stock craze, not itself, but when one of their executives went to GameStop, that's what kind of kicked off the whole thing. They're popping off before the bell on Wednesday. After the bell, as the Rock Lobster was alluding to, it was Oracle. If you'll recall, the last time they announced, listeners, it was a hot one. They came out with a really spicy number and blew through the par strike, the 300 strike. Got all the way up to almost, I think, 350 intraday. And even that same day, we were seeing the flow coming in on the hot options report that people were fading the hell out of that pop. Par puts were trading, that expiring that week, were trading for size, and they ended up working out. It was wild. They ended up going out at about $8. So it was a hell of a trade. And it seemed insane at the time. They were fading a nearly 50 handle move to the downside in the stock, and they were lining up on it. So yeah, it was a wild time out there, listeners. Will we see something like that again? Will we see another crazy move driven by AI, followed by an immediate fade? Guess we'll have to tune in on Wednesday to find out. Thursday, we've got Broadcom, and then the Rock Lobster's favorite manufacturer of sheer yoga pants. Yes, Lululemon, and of course, Costco bringing it up on Thursday as well. So still some hot names popping off here. If you want to see all the numbers for yourselves, you know where to go. We're kind of the options earnings mecca at this point. Who else gives you as much data as we do, let alone for free? The answer is literally nobody. And we've been doing it for a long time. I guess we just like you folks. TheOptionsInsider.com. Click on the options news and articles tab to break down all of the fun, listeners. Right now, the season hanging out 111% is the place to go. If you want to see all that data for yourselves, of course, TheOptionsInsider.com to learn more. It's time for us to go, listeners, right on into a little bit of the old odd block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by TheOptionsInsider.com. It's time for the odd block.
Everybody, let's get down to business. And man, business is good on the odd block, which means it's odd, which is always fun. Let's kick it off. I don't believe we've discussed this one in the past. I definitely would remember this name, but also they have changed their name. This is TMC, aka the Metals Company Inc. Guess what? They're big on metals. Ticker symbol TMC, no, not the movie channel, but the Metals Company. This was formerly Deep Green Metals. They're a Canadian deep-sea mining company. They focus on the mining of polymetallic nodules in the Clarion-Clipperton zone. So there you go. You learned something today, listeners. Trading $7.85, up about 1/4 or 3.5%. So nice little day for them. Has it been a good year, though, to be in the mining of polymetallic modules? I'm going to go out on a limb and say, guess the answer is yes, and that is a resounding yes, listeners. It was 85 cents. A year ago. They're up a whopping $7 or 824%. So first off, I think anything with the name metals in the title had a good year this year. And apparently polymetallic nodules is where the action is, listeners. They got as high as $11 this year back in October. Then they sold off hard in November, mid-November. It got down to about $4.89. So they got cut more than in half. And then since then, they've had a nice rally again from that mid-November sell-off right back up to about $7.80. So this one has been on a wild journey. Of course, if you bought the forever call a year ago, you're looking really good. But you had a few moments where you had to sweat. You sold off to $4 and change in August. And again, in November, you were still up, substantially on the year, but not up the 800+% that you are right now. But Mr. Rock Lobster, this brings us to the flow we spotted today. And we first noticed a block of nearly 10,000 of the May 12 calls going up for $1.40, 9,998 times. By the way, the market they showed us was $1.40 at $1.40. So I got a feeling something was screwy there. The stock was right exactly here, actually, $7.89. We went back and said, wait a minute, that's kind of weird. We looked a little more, because this is not a name we're that familiar with. We noticed about 23 minutes later, a block of the 14 calls in May also went up for $1.15, kind of lifting the offer there. So about half the size, nearly 5,000. We thought, is it a 1x2? And we went digging a little more. It turned out also around the same time, the Jan 8 calls were also trading about 11,000 times. So total on the day as we kicked off the show, there were about 11,000 of the May 12s going up. There were about 11,000 of the May 14s going up. Those were both opening. And it looked like the Jan 8s might be closing. So we went back to look and see what the hell they were up to. And it looks like they put these Jan 8s on back in May of this year when the stock was $4.97. And it looks like they might have sold the hell out of them, sir. They sold them for 90 cents on the bid, about 10,000 times. And now the stock has run, and it seems like they no longer want to be short the 8 strike, even though they've done pretty well on that trade, in particular on the stock side. I'm assuming they have stock against this, obviously. And now they're deciding, maybe Mr. Rock Lobster, to take off the 8s and maybe roll it into a May call vertical, doing it for about 25 cents. Again, none of this went up Mark's spread, and it all didn't go up at the same time. We're kind of reading into the tea leaves here a little bit, but seems like a bit of a funky trade. They maybe got a little bit too aggressive with the overwrite, and now they're keeping the party alive to the upside. What do you think? Do you concur, sir, or do you think we have gone completely off the deep end to explore polymetallic nodules?
Well, I think one thing is like the May 12 call volume. I'm just looking at it. I think it's now outrun the open interest on it. So, which is not always 100%, but it does appear they're getting out of the 12s into the 14s. And at 12 volume, today is a big day, but we did see there's some, so it haven't bought anything in the last month. And then the 15 and the 14s, today is pretty much the first. It's kind of an odd one. So it feels like it's that May 12 paper's been around for a while. And I'm looking to see like, wow, with traded $11 this year. I could do a little more. It has the whiff, because there's no way that they bought them. Okay, so 11.14 is less than a month ago. So like that kind of volume looks like it happened around. The bigger volume looks like it happened around the beginning of October. I'm going to say they're kind of rolling up on these. Let me see. If I look here.
So you think they're straight rolling the 12s to the 14s and the 8 is an independent trade?
It seems to be that. I'm going back to October volume here around the 12th or 13th. And here, I'm trying to see if there's October. I don't see the May volume. Yeah, I'd have to poke around a little more, but I don't see. But it does look like that to some degree. Again, in the open interest is not totally clear on this, but it does look like they're buying those 14. So, I just think they'd be closing the May 12s and rolling up. That's my guess because, of course, commodities, they just go up. So,
and this is not even your typical commodity. This is a polymetallic nodule, sir. How can you put a ceiling on the price of these?
and they could be infinitely valuable. But they're playing in the farther term, and so which they can be patient. And there's some upward sloping skew, which generally indicates there has been some call buying in the past. So just gonna say, hey, listen, this isn't not I would tend toward the roll on this one, but I could be wrong, but I would tend toward the roll on this one.
A lot of paper going up, very similar size on the name. It doesn't do a lot of flow, listeners. Very similar time frames as well. So I'll leave it up to you folks to decide if all 11,000 contracts of each strike is related or just eerily similar paper. As we keep on rolling, listener, let's pay off some of the flow we've talked about because there is a metric ton of flow sitting in our docket to be paid off, listeners. Let's go out to the October 6th show to everyone's favorite Ganx, aka Gain Therapeutics, ticker symbol Ganx, GANX. Trading right now, looking at a pretty good level, $3.96, so up 11 cents today. That puts it up nearly 2x from where it was when we talked about it on October 6th. At the time, well, let's see, on the year, the stock was $1.83 a year ago. And it was, when we talked about it in October, it was still about $2. So it had languished in this $2 range pretty much all year. Is actually slightly down on the year. And then looks like since we talked about it, listeners, somebody has feeling their oats and Ganx. We talked about it on the October 6th show, and we talked about somebody loving the upside, scooping up the OCT2s 6,258 times. Again, these were at the money calls. The stock was 204. They came back and did 1,110 more, again 15 cents. Total of about 10,000 changed hands on the day. So folks were loving themselves these calls. We didn't hate it. They were already 4 cents in the money. In terms of all the flyers we've seen on cheap $2 stocks, at least this one had a little bit of intrinsic value on it. So if you thought something was happening, maybe this wasn't the worst way to go. But we didn't love it either. It's one of those ones where, again, if you want to roll the bones, have at it. And you know what? You might think what I just said, these calls were a home run. And yet that kind of shows you what a challenging year it's been for Ganx. If you rode the stock all the way throughout the year, you're doing all right now. You're up about 2x on the year, listeners. Yeah, about 115%. But pretty much all of that move has come since mid to late November, which I mentioned that because these calls were October, listeners. So if you had been buying calls throughout any of the rest of the year, you probably suffered the same fate as these people, which is you paid 15 cents for 10,000 contracts, and guess what? The stock went out at $1.87, so you lost all of that. 110,000 contracts on the volume reprofiled. If you add up all 10,000, obviously it's closer to $1.50, but still. Mr. Rock Lobster, it does kind of show you how challenging this timing thing can be. You can have a stock that has doubled, but if you were buying call premium on it all year, you pretty much lost money, including in October, because the move just happened pretty much in the last few weeks, sir. What are your thoughts?
Well, that is the option problem. The attraction is large gains on a relatively small move in the stock. That is the attraction. However, the reality is your calls can go out worthless. So, you kind of make up from the timing point of view. In this particular company, it is, again, you're like, this was the vice where it's like, why buy options on a $2 stock? Like, why buy options on it? I mean, I guess you can buy 10 times as many 2-level calls for 15 cents instead of buying 100 shares of stock. But that is a problem. And now the stock's made a huge move and they didn't have enough duration. So that sad fact does happen every once in a while.
How demoralizing is that if you've been buying two calls every month all year long? and you're just throwing away 15 cents to the market gods every month, and you lose pretty much the entire value of the stock by the end of the year, and then you get the move and you don't have it on.
It is heartbreaking, and I'm very sorry for Mr. or Mrs. Ganks.
Yes, Ganks.
Because they got gangsted.
That's a great ticker out there, Ganks out there. That's another reason why we're a little lukewarm on options on the $2 and lower stocks, listeners. Speaking of $2 and lower stocks, let's pay off one more here. Let's go out to Canaan Inc. Ticker symbol CAN, C-A-N. This is a ADR out of Singapore. They're a computer hardware manufacturer. Trading a whopping 95 cents today. Kind of unched today. On the year, they're off, though, about $2 or 68%. So not been a great year. When we talked about them, it was on the October 20th show. So about a month and a half ago. And we came in and someone was swinging for some near-term fences. They came in with the stock at $1.82. And they said, you know what? I can't get enough of this CAN upside. But earnings are on November 19th. I don't want to go that far out. I want to go right out to the end of this week, to October 24th expiration for the 2 calls. And I'm willing to pay, again, this was October 20th, so you're talking 4 days. I'm willing to pay 25 cents for the privilege. Which, again, is just kind of head-scratching. Worth noting they had traded like a minute before for about 14 cents. They were a dime at 15. So it looks like this person came in and then they just bid them up out of control, because then the next market they got about a minute later was 20 cents at 25 and they paid 25. So looks like they bought 5,000 for 14 cents and then about 6,000 for 25 cents. And guess what, listeners? Stock went, this is almost the exact same story as the other one. The other one closed at $1.87. This one went out at $1.89 on expiration. So they lost money on both of these trades. I mean, and these are all still open, by the way. We checked on both of them. So paper dropped nearly $250,000 on this one, 220,000. Actually, I take it back. The first print was 6,000 of the twos. The second one was 5,000 of the 2 halves. So someone was just loading up on a ton of just upside of any strike they could get on the October 24th expiration. It seemed kind of odd to us at the time. We couldn't see the obvious catalyst outside of maybe a very near-dated short squeeze out there. And lo and behold, they didn't get it. So Mr. Rock Lobster, once again, go figure, paying 25 cents for a 2 call with 4 days to go. Didn't really work out that well, sir. What a shock. You're not even getting earnings in that time.
It's... Again, the Viceroy, once again, we will invoke him because he needs to be invoked and people to be reminded of taking all their hard-earned money and wasting it on a bunch of calls that aren't going to... It's a very hard game, you know. Now, some of these squeezy stocks, it can happen. Like they could overnight gap. But it appears that these options still went out worthless. So, again, it's very hard to do, because your timing has to be great. And, you know, even if they would have bought the stock 180, I mean, now the stock's at 94 cents, just brutal, rough. It's rough all the way around. There's no way else to parse it. And what's funny is you go out and there's open interest on the 1.5, 2 strike. I mean, they're still believers in Canaan Inc.
You know, if you can't make money as a Singaporean-based hardware manufacturer, what's the point? What are we all doing anymore? You know, I mean, it just disheartens me, sir, when even salt-of-the-earth names like Canaan Inc. can't make money. But nonetheless, listeners, as the Rock Lobster points out, this was a loser all around. If you bought the calls, if you bought the stock, there really was no winning on this one. But you know what? We always win on Monday when it's time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Strategy Block, the portion of the show where we break down some interesting bit of strategery, or perhaps a little bit of the old edumacation, courtesy of good old Uncle Mike, who, when he's not talking to us, is busy studying his trivia. He wants to make that final run at the end of the year. So far, not a bad little run. Mr. Uncle Mike, if you want to spend your segment today giving folks some trivia tips, have at it. Or maybe you want to go the options route. Up to you.
We'll go the option route. So, excuse me. So a lot of you that are trading covered calls right now or selling puts, you may be in a position to where you're not in a position, kind of like I am right now with silver, in that I've been not called away, but it just got so far in the money that I just closed everything out. Otherwise, I probably would have been called away by now. Who knows? Just depending on where things go over the course of the next couple of weeks, because we are at January expiration. So some things with which you could do if you are looking to possibly nibble your way back into the underlying. I'm not yet right now with silver. It's still way too high for me at this point. But once it starts coming down to a level to where I can think about nibbling, then I'll start nibbling, possibly. But right now, SLV currently is trading at $52.60 per share. And so if it goes back to the low 40s, I'll start looking at entry points, but it's just not there yet. So for the meantime, we're just sitting this one out. But some things with which I could look at in the meantime, or some things with which I could look at if it comes down a little bit more. Number one, I could sell some puts to get back into it if that's the case. I could sell some deep in the money calls, which are synthetic short puts the same way. But the other thing with which to think about is, let's say that I think it is going to go down and I want to get paid for it to go down and get paid when I get it put to me. If you'd like to do that, you could consider a ratio put spread. So for example, let's say XYZ stock's trading at $40 a share, and you think that it's going to go down to 30, and you'd like to buy it at 30. Well, like I said, you could put in a limit order to buy at 30. You could maybe sell a 30 put. You won't get much for it if it's that high, most likely. But another thing with which you could consider is buying the 35 put and selling two, not one, but two 30 puts. Now, by doing that, this may or may not work with premiums. Who knows? But let's say you could do it for even money, meaning you buy the 35 put for $1 and sell two of the 30 puts for 50 cents each. Well, by doing that, if the stock stays above 35, then you're going to break even. If the stock does indeed go down to the 30 level, you will make money from anything where the stock is below 35 and between 30. You'll essentially get paid $5 to buy the stock at 30. Now, does that make sense to do all the time? No. But if you are bearish on a stock, and if the stock does go to that level, you know you would turn bullish, it is something with which to consider. And that is the strategy block for today.
All right, everybody, let's keep on rolling. It is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block, the portion of the show where we tell you what we're keeping an eye on. Until the next episode on Thursday, when we are joined by the Flow Master, we kick this rock lobster guy to the curb. You can go back to battling with his chickens on the shore of Maine. And you know what? I think we distracted Uncle Mike a lot this show because his cabal has been slipping on the buying as the show has progressed. We have started selling off again. S&P off about 0.5% now. NASDAQ off about 1/3%. And the Dow off about 2/3%. VIX cash still hanging out right around that 1680 level or so out there. Let's check in on our poll again really quickly. From the start of the show, we asked you folks, these 18 puts, once again, they're everyone's favorite contract, dominating the tape in VIX. We asked you at the top of the show, 100% of you wanted to sell them. Now it's only a mere 83.3% of you want to sell them. 16.7% want to buy them. I get it. A lot of you already have these in your back pocket, so you're probably selling them for a 2x profit, in which case, ballyhoo to you. You've been listening to Volatility Views and all the other fun shows on the network. And Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, what are you keeping an eye on until the Thursday episode, sir?
We have some earnings coming in AVGO, and we have some earnings coming in Oracle. both big tech behemoths. So that and interest rates and whatever all the Fed governors when they talk at cross purposes. So we'll see what. But I think mostly that probably should give the market a kick would be my guess. But we'll have to see. We will have to see.
You got any fun nibbles going into the Fed? You doing any puts and VIX in your back pocket? Any nibbles on some strangles or anything?
I'm playing in the 16 puts because just for I think the irony of 2026, 2025 will be that VIX will trade a low for the year, like for a brief moment in time right before Christmas, just to put a little. We're going to trade all-time highs, but VIX will finally make a low, or volatility will make a low because we will have a relative quiet period until January, and then the next shutdown and all that. So there'll be a couple weeks where there ostensibly could be not much going on the news front. So
these are regular D's monthly. You're going out a little bit.
Yeah, right now regular D's ordinary the 16 puts. They're only trading around 20-25 cents. So.
Say a little bit of a flyer. You're not going crazy town. You're not going full 15 strike. We've established that way lies madness. But 16
16, it's hard to believe that 16 is the most you can hope for, but that is what it is.
He kissed 15 and a half in the cash last week, so hope springs eternal for you, sir.
Yeah, it can.
And Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on until the Thursday episode?
Well, Fed, more Fed, interest rates, and we are still not that far away from an all-time high. We're further than we were at the beginning of the show, so Mark must have turned on the message to all the cabal listening to go short. But
I called my own cabal, the dubious, devious cabal.
Aha! You called your short minions. I get it. So continuing to watch that, and we should have a lot to talk about on Thursday. I'm excited for the show.
Should be an interesting one. Maybe the Fed will throw us a curveball, listeners. Maybe Powell, in his last defiant act, will say, "From hell's heart I stab at thee," and he raises rates. We shall see what we have in store for us on the Thursday show, listeners. That music means we're done, at least for now, but don't worry, I'll be back in a few minutes with our good buddy, Mr. Greg. He's all hot and bothered about crypto vol. There's a lot of it right now. If you want to join us talking all that fun, skew, vol, trades, action, circle, Bitcoin, BTC, ETH, all the fun, stay tuned for the crypto rundown. If you're hanging out in the pro, we'll pump some fun stuff in there. Be back in a little bit. But before we go, Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, if folks want to check out what you have cooking, or dare I say it, they want to be flashed by you in a dark alley, where should they go? What should they do?
Optionpit.com, 888-TRADE-01. And my capital gains product, where we launch Wall Street and K Street together, having a great year this year. So check it out. We do have a little special going on it right now. So check it out. If you want somebody that actually trades the options they talk about in their classes, come to optionpit.com.
Dare I say it, like the masthead for your flash newsletter should be you from the backside with a little bit of profile of the head, wearing a trench coat and a hat, and then the trench coat is opened, and that's facing away from the viewer, and then facing towards us is an onlooker, a viewer, a man, whatever, maybe a group of them, and they're all just completely aghast. How about that?
I mean, prepare to be flashed.
I would subscribe to that newsletter in a heartbeat. Who wouldn't? The implications there are monumental. Check it out for yourselves there, listeners.
Huge.
Optionpits.com to learn more. Mr. Uncle Mike, we have established you are not in the flashing business. But if folks want to check out what business you are in, where should they go? What should they do?
Go to stcharleswealth.com. Book an appointment with me. Would love to have a conversation with any of our listeners. As always, if you're looking for a financial advisor to go beyond just what your trading account is, reach out to me, stcharleswealth.com.
stcharleswealth.com. And of course, while you're checking things out online, check out our friends over there at Tastyland. Tastytrade.com/podcast is the place to go to get the deals for you folks tuning in. Maybe you're saying, I want to upgrade my broker. Maybe I want to try out something new. Tastytrade.com/podcast, the place to go to to kick the tires and light the fires. That's going to do it for us on the old OB. Back in a little bit with the crypto rundown. Mr. Greg, I do believe Mr. Greg's going to be joining us throughout the rest of the year, so a lot of crypto vol to sink our teeth into this time of year. Should be fun. Then, of course, back again after the closing bell for the Hot Options Report. Then back with our fun array of content throughout the week till we're back post-Fed with the Flowmaster on Thursday. Another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.